And as for 2025, my whole mantra is be alive for 2025. And when I say it that way, I don't mean literally be alive. I mean, stop feeling like everything that has ever happened to you before defines who you will be this year. Drop that. Start to live again. If you have been living, go to that next level.
Welcome to the Sales Problem Podcast, where we talk everything sales, success, and personal growth. Thanks for joining us. Let's get growing.
Welcome back to the Sales Problem Podcast, and welcome to Season 4. This is episode number 4. And here's what we're going to give you today. Let me ask you this. Do you have greatness inside you? Do you know that you're capable of more, but you just haven't put all the pieces of the puzzle together to truly meet your potential? Well, it's 2025. We are fired up today because we have Roger Caesar on the show. And Roger has competed in the Toastmasters World Championships of Public Speaking. And today, we're going to help you find that greatness. I'm your host, Daniel Burns, and joining me is the great one. No, it's not Wayne Gretzky. It's the great Steve Comerford. Steve, are you ready for 2025 and some brand new conversations that are going to help our listeners get to great?
Yes.
Wonderful. He's the best commentary man in the business for a reason,
Just
folks.
playing with you, Dan. Just playing with you, man. Hey, it's exciting to get into the new year. That's why we created this thing, right? You hit the reset button. You gotta, I don't know, turn things upside down and tackle the year that's in front of you. So this is a great little start. Communication is an interesting piece. You talked about Roger and public speaking. I'd like to emphasize the public because a lot of speaking gets lost in, I don't know, emails and texts and all the rest of it. And that comes across as speaking. But I was telling you before the show, I went to a theater show last night about, it was the Master Plan. I don't know, Roger, you're here in Toronto. It was down at Soul Pepper Theater. So my son, who introduces me to a lot of theater, I love live acting. I love in that forum. I truly appreciate actors, people that get up on stage like yourself in front of groups. It's daring, it's challenging, it's courageous. So I'm looking forward to this little chat today because it seems to be these days that communication piece is, I don't know, lost art. Yeah, it's something funky going on. So it'd be interesting to get Roger's take on things. That's where I am, Dan. And I'll add one other piece too, which was key for you and me, right? We have known each other for a long time, but it was so nice. Last week, we haven't really talked to each other in a long time, but we had that chat over the phone. We got caught up on a lot of stuff. You had just finished your getting out of the sand trap in your indoor golf. And we had a lovely conversation, caught up on a lot of stuff, where you are, what's going on. So that, in terms of talking and communication, was something valuable for me. So there you go. That's where I'm starting.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to learn a lot about communication on this episode, Steve. And here's my little rant to start off 2025. Here's what's sitting on my mind right now. I saw an inspiring little post, so I want to mention this to our listeners because this podcast really, Steve, is all about growth, whether it's sales growth or it's personal growth. And I know Roger's going to bring the goods to help deliver that. But here's something I caught today, was a little post that said, dream, plan, do. And we're in 2025. And that's really, I think, an important thing to look at. What is it as a listener? What do you want this year? What's going to happen? How are you going to be intentional to make some type of growth happen? That's the first question that we should all be asking ourselves in the new year. And then the next part is planning. Okay, I want this thing, but how am I going to get there? We all know we need a plan. And that's the part, Steve, I get most excited about, is that planning part. But then today, I'm sitting here, I've planned this stuff out. I've dreamed some things for 25. You know what I haven't done? The actual doing. So I went to the gym today because I had the dream, I had the plan, but guess what? I wasn't doing the doing. So I just want to put that out there to people to get doing, get planning, get dreaming, because it's 2025. And if you want growth, that's how it's going to get delivered. So that's my little rant.
Applause. I'll add a fourth to that is checking. Is always checking, making sure that you're on track and you keep going. And I love the plans, but so often, and I think we talked about this last year about this time, is that you get everything together and then all of a sudden the first week of January, everything kind of falls off the radar. So hopefully everybody's checking in and keep on going.
Well, I always love the little banter with you, Steve.
Hey,
are you ready to shift to start solving the sales problem with our guest, Roger?
Giddy up, Dan. Let's go.
All right. I'm excited because we have Roger Caesar on the show. And let me tell you why we brought him on. Well, first of all, I couldn't think of a better way to kick off 2025 than with Roger. I had about a 30-minute conversation with Roger a couple weeks ago. And let me tell you, just in that short time, it was so much fun. I love Roger's energy. So listeners, you're in for a treat because Roger is a true master of communication. But here's what I loved. He's also a business owner. So today I know you're going to get great tips on personal growth, but also business insights that you can apply in 2025. Now, Roger, normally this is where you sent me your bio. It was great. Normally I just read that out and introduce the guest, but I'm like, okay, we've got a master storyteller coming on the podcast. I can't just read a bio and try to tell it in a way that you would tell it. So here's what I'd love for you to kick off. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, but also maybe at the end, because Steve and I shared a little bit for 2025, what's a message that you think is important for our listeners to consider in 2025? And by the way, welcome to the Sales Problem Podcast.
Man, woo! I am excited to be here. I got to bring the energy like you both do. This is fun. This is exciting. I'm hoping everybody can hear me clearly. Am I good? Am I on? Is it on? Proper?
You're good.
All right. My name is Roger Caesar. I am a business owner. I've got two businesses that I've had. Number two, I am a award-winning speaker, public speaker, a professional speaker. I did win the third place in the 2021 World Championship of Public Speaking. Awesome to be able to have that to my resume. But more importantly, two businesses that I've had, one in the logistics field. And of course, because I had won in public speaking, I started my new company, which was Caesar Empire Speaking and Coaching, helping individuals to find the greatness within themselves and also building an empire of captivating communicators. You know, it's funny because my story is not like anybody else. I didn't love public speaking. I wasn't even thinking about that in any way, shape, or form. It became something that I knew I needed and was necessary for me when I took over the family business that we had. And my first interaction with a supervisor, he was an introvert, very quiet. And I had no idea how to communicate, and a 5-minute conversation felt like 5 hours. I left there nervous, scared, sweating profusely, and said I would never want to feel that intimidated anywhere, anytime again. And that's how I got into it. And the rest is history, as they say, and I'm pretty sure throughout our conversation, little bits and pieces will come out with regards to that. And as for 2025, my whole mantra is be alive for 2025. And when I say it that way, I don't mean literally be alive. I mean, stop feeling like everything that has ever happened to you before defines who you will be this year. Drop that. Start to live again. If you have been living, go to that next level. But if you feel like everything has clouded your judgment or made you feel like you can't move any forward, believe me, you have a lot to live for. So let's be alive for 2025.
I'm fired up already, Roger. I'm fired up. I love that. I love it. And an amazing insight from your story that I think can relate to salespeople that are out there. I know myself, when you've walked through the door and you're selling to somebody who's quite introverted, it's one thing when you have to pitch and you get that energy coming back to you right away. But when you've got a buyer that is not quite giving you all the vibes, they're difficult to communicate with, that's a next level of where you have to go to really be a professional, is to be able to communicate with all different types of personalities. So Roger, the first segment of our show, we're going to throw you into the kitchen. I hope you can smell what we're cooking here with this, but what we want to hear is, what is your recipe for success? If somebody came into your business to try to sell you, or you had a salesperson that was going to go out and generate some business for you, what would you look for in a sales superstar? If you could grab just a handful of ingredients and kind of throw them into a bowl to create a secret sauce, what do you think is important to create that sales superstar from your perspective?
Well, first and foremost, what you have is what I call the 3 R's. And the 3 R's are relate, recall, and react. Okay? And it doesn't matter whether it is on the stage being a professional speaker or a salesperson out there trying to drum up business. These 3 R's are important. Number 1 is to relate. Relating to the customer, what it is that they are wanting, what they need, and then feeling like you get that connection by telling them situations that you have had, that you can relate to them and say, oh, I've been there. I understand what you're talking about. And it's the same thing as a public speaker, professional speaker. When we're on stage, we often ask rhetorical questions to the audience so that we can have them relate to us and our story in some way, shape, or form. So it's important to use that first R, which is relate. That brings you the connection to a possible customer or an audience. Number 2 is to recall. Now, that is very, very important. This is using your listening skills. As a sales rep or as someone in business, and this goes with other things that we will probably talk about throughout the course of this interview, but to recall what someone says to you. So that makes them feel you have heard what they are wanting, their needs, and their desires. So recall it. Ask them back. So you were saying that you needed this, or that. Am I correct on that? That allows them to feel that you have heard them. You have taken the time to make them a priority, and it's not only about yourself. And as I said, even as a public speaker and a professional speaker, it's the same thing. When we're on stage, it's how do we recall what somebody has said to us out there, or with something that has been done in our past that we can use so that they can understand, okay, he gets me, he understands me. Same thing here in business. And then finally, it's the react. You've gotten this information, you have heard them, you have connected with them. Now it's how do you react to that? What path do you then take to close the sale in that moment? That is important in that, to react. So again, the 3 R's, my ingredients is to relate, recall, and then react.
It's a masterclass already, Steve. I love how you picked 3 variables there, Roger. And it's so memorable: relate, recall, react. And what really came up for me is how important it is to listen, to empathize when you are listening, to build that rapport, and the importance of showing people that you are listening. Distraction is huge today. And it's very easy to get into a conversation with somebody and you know that they're not really listening. And I think that's one of the separators. I love it.
I think I'll add to that what happens is oftentimes it's like the cart before the horse. We are so wanting to get that sale that our mind is set on what we need to do, and we forget, hey, we've got to see what they need, because it might not, we may not be gelling in that moment if we're not listening to what the customer's needs are, first and foremost.
Oh yeah, it's easy, right? You just skip the first 2, relate and recall. You just go right to react. Oh yeah, I have one of those, and it's in the back of my car. And do you want it now? And you totally missed the mark. But Roger, I'm still trying to connect the dots between logistics owner and public speaker. Like, where was it that you turned the corner on that? The 2 don't match, seems like, but maybe you can help me out here.
Sure, no problem. And I've told this story millions of times. I walked into this supervisor. He's a brand new supervisor at a company that we had been servicing for over 30 years. And when he walked in, of course, I came there and I introduced myself and told him, hey, whatever you need, we are here for you. Just let us know. And that conversation, Steve, was simply this. Thank you.
Tough crowd.
Right? And here I am, I'm thinking, okay, how do I continue this conversation with him? And it went nowhere. So I just turned around and said, okay, I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye. And I walked out of the room. And I went to my office, said some words that we cannot repeat here, and literally said, I've got to find an organization that will help me to develop these skills that I need so that when I'm in situations like that, or in a room where there is 4 or 5 executives sitting in there and I have to present, I've got to be more comfortable. See, I had my dad that ran the company for many years to look at and to see, and then he would take care of all of these things. But when I took over, just because you know, and here's a key thing, just because you know people, when you get into the position of owner, manager, they change. They're no longer talking to you as if we're just friends. Now they're looking at you from a different perspective. And sometimes they want to know if you can handle yourself in these situations. I learned very quickly I couldn't, because I did not have the ability to communicate in that situation. And that was the reason why I knew I had to get help, go to this organization, which is called Toastmasters. I went there and I learned the art of public speaking, and there are different variations and parts to it, but there was one in particular, which was the art of impromptu speaking that I knew I needed.
Well, I'm glad you went there, because I'm curious on that business owner, manager, sales leader, and that's, the obvious, the audience that Dan and I try to touch base with, and that are interested in the show. Is there something coming into this year for a business owner that struggles with communication? You hit the 3 R's, but is there something deeper or something more that they can do? Because as you have run into, there's a lot of business owners that just are not hitting the mark on communicating effectively. They think they're successful. They run a successful business, but they cannot get a message across to the group that's in front of them. Anything there that you want to kind of share with the group?
Yeah, you have to understand your strengths and weaknesses. And I think that's very important in no matter what part of life it pertains to. You have to know your strengths and weaknesses. I realized it was a weakness for me, my communication. And I went and I got help. A lot of times our ego, being owners, being successful in some way, shape, or form, prevents us from recognizing our weaknesses. Or we'll ask somebody else to do it. We'll hire someone to be our publicist. We'll hire someone to go into this meeting because they can handle speaking with regards to whatever the subject is on. And yet we're not fixing the weaknesses that we have. You have to allow yourself to let go of that part of you and find what it is that you need to work on and do it. It's as simple as that. If I did not do that, I would not have gotten to where I am today. If I had sat back and said, well, you know what, I will let my sales rep go in there and handle everything, I wouldn't have learned it. And one of the things that my father always taught me was when you have a business of any sort, you have to learn every single part of it, because you never want anybody to take advantage of you at any time while you are in control of your business. So learn all the aspects of it.
So that's it. You talked about ego and business owner. The two kind of go together. I'll take it to a different level. So then that business owner realizes that I need to communicate better with my team. I'll learn. Is there a line where it's like over communicating? It's like I will just I'll go from 0 to 100 and I'll start over communicating. And is that too far? And have you seen that happen, and what happens with organizations, or how that disconnect happens? Where's the advice there?
Yes, there is, in Toastmasters, we'll probably talk about this a little more after, but one of the things that I learned was what we call a sandwich method, where you can communicate the positives or talk about things from the perspective of getting people to feel excited about working. But then you also have to understand where the line is to let people grow on their own. Let them understand what it is that you need them to do and let them grow. Communication is all about not only speaking, but it's also about listening and seeing what is happening around you. I have had to learn the hard way when it came to that. I had to take many years to learn the art of speaking and communicating well. What I want your audience to understand very simply is communication is it's not only about the words that come out of your mouth, but it's also what you listen to and the situation that is happening around you. When do you slow down, pull back, and let things happen as they might? And when do you have to step up and say something? You have to determine that by using the art of listening and knowing the situation that is in front of you.
One last question, and I'll pass it back to Dan. It's interesting coming into this new year, right? You have a lot of corporations that I've been a part of that do a lot of surveys. They do their customer, but their employee surveys. And so they come into 2025, they've got all this data, and we're listening, but then have a really hard time with communicating. Is there any, for people that are listening here on the show, maybe they're part of HR and they have to kind of roll out a new communication plan for 2025. Do you have a nugget there that would say, yeah, you should really consider this idea when it comes to communicating better with your employees and your staff?
Good question. For me, I've never had to really do something like that. So I probably want to be very careful on how I answer that. For us, I've always had that excitement built up in anything that we've had to do. More times than not, your employees, your staff, they will be susceptible to listening and moving forward with something that you want if they feel excited, if they feel included in the process. That is very important. Always making sure that those who are there, they have a part in it in some way, shape, or form. They feel excited about something that's being done. And listen, not all news is good news. We understand that. We understand that sometimes we have to tell them things that are not good. But it's how you do that. Being empathetic to those that maybe you have to let go. You're doing structures, changing the structure of your company. There's downsizing. There's different aspects that are not good news. How you relate by bringing people in, telling them how, listen, we understand that you have been a valuable piece. Give them something to leave with that is positive. And that is always important because you want people to feel that they still were valued by you and there was something about them that they did that helped the company get to where they were. Things change. And you have to understand that the people that you have, you do not want to leave them feeling that they are not valued in any way, shape, or form. And there's excitement when there are positive things that bring them to feel that they are needed.
I like that. I would back you up on that positive nature and the excitement around moving forward. So thank you. So I kind of threw in that question. So thanks for answering it. Yeah.
Roger, I just want to come back to something and highlight it for our listeners because I think it was brilliant, as well as it was a little bit unexpected for me. But when you say great speaking is about listening, a little bit unexpected, but what it brought up for me is how many people go through the door with a plan to pitch, to say, to get to this point in the call so they can close something. And then a buyer may hit you with something. And it's so important to listen to that and go, hold on a second, maybe my plan isn't going to go where it's supposed to go because I just heard something that sounds more important. I have to be able to pivot and then change my communication. But it means abandoning the plan I had to get the thing I wanted and then pivoting to be in line with the buyer. So I thought that was brilliant.
You remember, and I'm hoping I'm not going to mess this up. Mike Tyson had a quote that said, everybody thinks they can win until, I think something along the lines of, everybody thinks that they are a good fighter until they get that first punch. Or something along the lines of that. I know I'm absolutely messing up, so if your listeners know what that
Let me help
quote
you.
is, please forgive me on that. But you get the point that he's making, is that we go in thinking we've got this, everything is fine, and we're going according to plan, and then boom, that first punch. And how do you adjust in that moment, right? How do we adjust as business owners, as sales reps? How do we adjust in those moments when we get that first punch, and we have to, as you put it, pivot, right? You've got to be able to, and that comes down to understanding and making sure that not only do you go in with what you want to say, but also think about what's the possibilities that could come up, and have that all prepared as well, so that you are ready for anything that might come up. And the next thing that I want to say, while you said that, never feel like you are always the expert. Sometimes you may not know something. And in that moment, what is the best thing to do, even as a speaker, is to say it. I'm not sure about that, but let me get you that answer right away and get back to you. People will respect you more if you do that than to sit there and fumble along with something that doesn't sound like you know what you're talking about. So that's key as well.
Oh, that's such a great insight. And I can now make the connection when you say Toastmasters impromptu speaking, how that all fits together, because you literally have a topic and you have to kind of dance, think on your feet, and take it in different directions. So I can see how that would help with the icebreakers and with, kind of getting people comfortable very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I want to pivot, since we were talking about pivot a little bit, to your brand and talk a little about greatness. For somebody, Roger, that doesn't believe that they've got greatness inside them, or somebody that consistently always keeps the bar pretty low so that they don't have big expectations, but maybe they're not really reaching their full potential and they're not getting out what's really trapped inside them. What would be some advice you could give to somebody who's in that situation, struggling to really tap that greatness that they do have?
Find a mentor. Find someone that you see that you can look up to, that is, whether it's in your field of business or someone around you that you really respect, and they have shown you consistently the things that you want within yourself. It is very important to have this, because I learned very quickly when I looked at my father, for example, in the family business. Then I looked at other people who I really respected, whether it was in the business that we had as a family, but also as a speaker. The people that I connected with were people that I felt wholeheartedly can help me and enhance me to get to where I wanted to get to. My World Championship speech talked about that very subject, and it was about finding the people around you that can bring the greatness out of you. And then you yourself, once you have felt that you have found that who you are, to help others to find the greatness within themselves. It is so vital that you find a mentor, someone that you can really connect with, that can show you all the potential that you have. I often give this story about when I was speaking my first speech in Toastmasters. I did my icebreaker speech, and there was a gentleman to my left in the room, and he was stoic, looking at me with these steel brown eyes and really concentrating on everything I said. And I tried not to look at him because I thought he didn't like me or something, so I kept my eyes away from him. But he came up to me afterwards. His name is Sanjay Sharma. I'll always give him credit every single time. Any interview I go on, I always give him the credit that he deserves. And Sanjay came over to me, put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "You will be a champion one day. I can feel it." And even though I didn't believe in that part, what that did was it made me look at him as a mentor who saw something in me that I didn't see. And when you have people like that in your life that could do that, and he kept on, every time I did a speech, he'd say it again, or he'd look at me with his eyes and he'd do this to me. That built that confidence. And when you have people like that that can build the confidence in you and restore that part of you that felt insecure, low, in any way, shape, or form, those are the people you want around you.
There's so much that you just dropped there, Roger, that I love. And we've talked about it here on the podcast before, but oddly enough, Roger, you wouldn't know it from the tough love between Steve and I in the banter. But Steve was actually my first manager. And I do remember him saying, man, keep going at this because you're going to be a superstar. And I didn't believe in myself, but having somebody else tell you that and their belief in you can be absolutely everything. And surrounding yourself with great people, I think, is so important. I think there's so many people that try to do it all on their own and just carry the mountain on their shoulders. And even when it's heavy, they don't ask for help. It's, it's tough to be vulnerable and ask for help. So I love everything that you just said. So I'm super curious. Having you on the show, I had to go here about your journey to competing in the World Championships of Public Speaking with Toastmasters. I know from having competed a little bit in that myself that the competition is tough. There are so many great speakers, and I'm really curious about what gave you the confidence in either your idea that you had to present, that was something that was a winning idea for your speech, or your own ability to compete and reach that high level when you were going through that journey?
Well, I touched on it with Sanjay. Sanjay was pretty much the catalyst behind that when he said those things to me and kept on nudging me and nudging me. The backstory is that I've always been a competitive person. I'm an athlete by nature. I ran track and field at a high level, played football, basketball, baseball, you name it. Any sport that I wanted to learn, I was in it, and I competed at high levels with it. So that competitive spirit was always within me. Even as an owner, I always wanted to be at the highest level. But when it came to competing in speaking, it took Sanjay to really show me that I can do this. And then I went in there, and with regards to the ideas, I learned very quickly that life happens. And this is something for your audience if they ever wonder about this. Life happens, and oftentimes what happens is, even though our eyes are open, there is this film that is over it, and we don't see everything that is going on around us. Our fast-paced world, we've got to get deadlines done. We have all these things that are happening around us, and we don't actually see everything that's going on around us. My ideas come from life. My ideas come from the very things that I see all around me, the experience that I've had, the moments that I look back at and I say, oh my God, those were horrible times in my life. These were embarrassing times. These were funny times in my life. But we as humans oftentimes will throw those in the back of our minds, take the key, lock it, and throw away the key because we don't want anybody else to hear those embarrassing, harsh stories. Or oftentimes we don't want to remember them ourselves. So we lock it up and we keep it there. But those are the stories and those are the ideas that so many people are itching and waiting to hear from a professional speaker, from someone on a stage, from someone who's competing. They want to hear those messages. How did you get through that? Because there's always that one person that's sitting in that audience that either went through it, going through it, or knows somebody who has and is doing it, right? And that information, by looking at somebody up there saying, look, I went through all of this and I got through it, and this is how, helps that next person to say, okay, if he did or she did it, I can do it.
That's pretty good. Wanted to go still at world. Where was the championship series or competition? Where did it take place?
Mine was online. In fact,
That's right.
2021.
Yeah,
So we were in the
COVID
height of
years
COVID at that time. So mine was an online contest. But Toastmasters has competitions every year in different locations. They've had it in Malaysia at one point. They were going to have it in France, but then of course COVID happened during that period of time. They've had it in California recently. It was in California. I have competed 4 times at the World Championship of Public Speaking. It was in Las Vegas, Chicago, Washington when I did it in person. So it's everywhere. Wherever they choose to have it, they have the competition. This year, it's in Philadelphia.
Ah, okay. Well, I do love Chicago. That's one of my favorite cities. But
That's it.
I have to ask then, what's the difference? Or there's more and more presentations or discussions happening online. So this may be relevant to your Toastmasters when you had to do it virtually. Much more stuff is happening on Zoom or Teams. Is there one aspect of doing it that way versus in person that there's a tip out there that could help some people that have to do a little bit of both?
Great question, Steve. I am not technically sound. I will say that. We learned that a little bit before the scenes here. I am not technically sound. However, I love talking about it. I love being very honest with a lot of things like that. But I took that as a challenge when they went online and learning how to find a way to communicate through this lens here. And how was I able to get my message across through not being in front of people? When we're in person, you have that instant gratification. When you make a joke or you have an emotional moment, you can literally look down at your audience and see their reaction, their emotion in that moment. So you know it's connecting with them. What's different here, and this is also important for anybody that's on a Zoom call or wants to do presentations. One of the world champions of public speaking said this: the lens is your friends. The lens, friends behind the lens. Let me put it correctly. The friends behind the lens. In other words, your eye contact is vital when it comes to being online. Looking down at the screen like this and seeing the people here does not connect to people, right? I am not connecting to you. I'm looking at my screen right now at you. When I look here, this is connecting to everybody who is on the other side of the lens. As well, when you ask rhetorical questions and you use this camera to your advantage, for example, when I come in a little closer, and I want to tell you something that is very important. There's a different feeling when I say it to you from here versus all the way over here, right? You feel that I'm actually talking directly to you in that moment. So these are little tricks to the camera that I learned and how to position yourself on camera to let people understand or to let them connect with you from the online perspective. Whereas in person, I can just go to a person who's standing there and literally talk to them. So that's the difference.
Love it. And I got to get closer to the camera, I guess, sometimes and look in the right place. I always get lost. Hey, but this interesting little part about Toastmasters, and let's say you're working. So you're the coach of the person that's within Toastmasters. You're teaching them the tips and tricks or advancing them through. And you've got a really good speaker, really, really good. But there's a jump from good to great and getting them to that high level of speaking. Is there one or two things that you've seen that really works from moving it? You talked a little bit about it in your mentoring comments, but is there something else that's there that really turns the key from good to great?
Yeah, it's very important. My company, Caesar Empire Speaking and Coaching, this is what we love doing. When I see speakers, and yes, I've had some really tremendously great speakers that had great stories, great messages, but what it comes down to is your delivery. The delivery of a speech is key. You have to understand, Daniel, you'll notice from your times of speaking as well, how you deliver a speech is what honestly connects the audience to you. Sometimes you can have the greatest words, the greatest speech written, but if you say it flat, it goes nowhere. Your voice variation on how you speak, how you present that speech, whether you bring it down in those moments of sadness, whether you understand that there is an exciting part of this speech that I want you to know and I need you to be very excited about it, versus telling me the message that you want to say. Your body language is key as well. So there's different parts to the delivery of a speech that enhances it, that allows the audience to go on this journey with you throughout your speech and they can feel every emotion, every part of it, because you are using your body to speak, you are using your voice variation, and you are connecting with your eyes to the audience.
Love it. Thank you. The next question would be around feedback. And you kind of touched on it earlier on the sandwich method, but was there any feedback along the journey that really stung you? And how did that change you? But likewise, too, then looking at you're now coaching other people, is there a good method of feedback that you use that doesn't sting but gets you the result of change and growth?
Yes. Let me answer the first question. It's 2018 in Chicago, ironically. I'm at the World Championship Public Speaking. I have a speech that many people thought is a winning speech. Absolutely. It was a speech I called Just Breathe. You can look it up on YouTube. They thought, yes, he's got all the elements of it. And when I came off the stage, even my competitors said, well, I guess we're going for second now. And that confidence was there for me. I felt really good about it. I had the crowd into it and everything. And I sat down, and when they named the winners, my name wasn't said. And this had been my third time getting to the World Championship. And I remember sitting in that chair, and instantaneously tears started streaming down my face. I had my hands over my face, and I'm sitting in the chair completely dejected. As everybody's celebrating and saying congratulations to the eventual winner, I am in this chair, glued. And I remember a lady by the name of Jacqueline Payne. I've always given her credit for this. Best advice I'd ever gotten. She came over to me, and she's put her hand there on my shoulder yet again and said, hey, put your head up, wipe your face, stand up, and go around the room and congratulate everybody. That is what a champion does. You do not do this here. If you want to cry, you want to get upset, you want to show your emotions, go upstairs to your room and let it out there. But when you're in here, you act like a champion. And I never forgot that. I have never forgot that, because a lot of what we do, whether it's in business or as a professional speaker, is how you are seen to others. And if you're coming across in a way that shows them that you are thinking only about yourself, and you're not being relatable or a person that people can come to and talk to, that alone can turn people off right away. In that moment, she shared with me one of the greatest mentoring advices I'd ever had, and that is act like a champion. Walk around the room, congratulate everybody, because when I did that, Steve, I'll tell you right now, I had more people come up to me after that asking me to speak at events than if I had sat in that chair and cried and carried on the way I did. Right? I had so many people come up to me and said, I loved your speech. I don't know what happened here, but we'd love for you to come and speak at this place. And we'd love for you to come and be on an interview at this place. So her advice was correct in that sense. And when it comes to what you asked, which was to what do you do as a coach now and helping people when it comes to letting them know, the sandwich method is simply this. You give them the positives of what they are doing correctly, things that they're doing fine right now from what you can see. You give them the advice on what they can work on, and you do that in a constructive manner that uplifts them. So it's not to say the words should, you have to, those types of words bring people down. It's, here's some things that I think will uplift your speech. Here's some things that I think can bring you to the next level. It excites them. So you're still giving them the constructive criticism, but you're giving it to them in an excitable way that says, yeah, I didn't realize that. Okay, cool. And then you end it with giving them something that you saw that was so spectacular in what they do. And this again applies to the business world. Giving them, when you're in HR or when you are a manager, giving your employees their report of how they did. This here is the moment when you give them something to walk away with on a high. But you know what, Steve? What I love most about you is your enthusiasm. Your enthusiasm is so infectious and it helps our team all the time. I don't want you to lose that part. Keep that always going, because that's why you allow the whole team to feel so connected to you. They leave now feeling, okay, I've got something that I do good, but I can work on these things. So that's what it is.
Gold, Daniel, gold. And I love the part on how you react when you lose, right? How you respond when you lose. It actually, to your point, will bring you more positive outcomes. Maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow and the day after, and how you are then seen in that community or within that group. So I love that. That's a gem.
Yeah, I definitely want to pause on that. The act like a champion. What came up for me is we talk about this all the time, Roger, about being a true professional. And in the sales world, you get losses all the time. How do you react when you lose a deal? How do you react when you get feedback that, hey, this month wasn't so great? Do you go back and get angry about that, or does it make you become better? Does it, a more complete sales professional?
Yeah. Very important how you channel that anger, that disappointment. Right? You have to find a way to look for something positive within it so that you can walk away and say, okay, no, I didn't get that sale today, but what were some of the things? And sometimes that's what we have to do as sales reps. You got to sit back for a second and say, okay, that didn't work out. What can I take away from that, from the positive perspective that I got? Okay, well, what was great is that he at least listened to this. He liked this part. But what was it that he didn't? Okay, it was this. It was the way I approached it, or it wasn't the right timing. Okay, cool. So you take those things and you try to formulate your own version of that sandwich method when you're sitting there. Don't just look at just the negatives. We didn't get the sale. Okay, you didn't get the sale. Find that positive part of it. What was great about this? What is it that he said? And again, it goes back to that relate, recall, react. What was it that he was saying that I missed out on, that I didn't get? Right? That's the part right there.
Yeah, I think I'll echo too that competitive nature that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. When you do have a loss and you've got that competitive spirit, thinking about, I don't want to repeat this. So let's figure out the little thing that I might not have done correctly so I don't keep tripping over this. In the future, I can correct it and then I can get the win a little bit later. I want to transition a little bit to so many salespeople, so many executives that may be listening are doing presentations. And Steve and I listen to presentations all the time. And one of the things that always strikes me is that you don't get a lot of stories from people when they're up in front doing a PowerPoint. It seems to be that most people's thoughts are about the information. So I've got something to tell people. I have to relate a certain amount of information. I've got my slides. It's going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. But there really isn't much in the way of anything engaging. And I think that also the times where I've seen people attempt stories, sometimes they fall a little bit flat. You just don't quite get that punch. You see they've tried, but it falls a little bit short. I'd love to get some insights from you for anybody that's about to do a presentation, is thinking about trying to put a little pizzazz into it, a little something more. How could they create a great story that really engages listeners and still drives home a point?
Okay. I'm going to say this and I'm going to repeat it so that your audience hears what I have to say. Your stories are the gateway to your soul and the pathway to an audience's heart. I'm going to repeat that. Your stories are the gateway to your soul and the pathway to an audience's heart. Okay? What does that mean? It's great words, Roger. What does it mean? It means that if you can allow yourself to be vulnerable to tell stories that relate to the audience that you are speaking to, that now connects them from the heart to you. They see you not as they don't see you as the sales guy that just wants to get that sale. or they don't see you as the business rep who just wants to get through their presentation. They see you as a human being, a person that is coming down to their level and wanting to talk to them. Example, I'll just use us, and this is off my head. Imagine the fact that I'm coming to you now. You know what? I remember very young, my father would often leave home about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I can hear him downstairs humming a song every single morning. I didn't understand it when he would do it when I was that young, but I remember it so well. He would sit, and as he's making his coffee, he would hum a song to himself. And at the end of it all, he would always say, "This day will be a better day." And I never forgot that from my dad, because somehow he would always look at each day as a brand new way of changing things from what they were the day before. And in business, oftentimes we have to understand the value of not letting the things that happened before deter us from what we can accomplish the next day. See how I used a story to do it? And then I get into something. So now it's related. They've realized that I can relate to them from this particular story that I said. What about you? That is the key. Bringing it back to them. The rhetorical questions. What about you? How many times have you found yourself letting what happened yesterday deter you from what can possibly happen today? Yeah? Okay, good. Here's what I have that I want to share with you today. And then you get into your presentation. Now I've connected with you. I've gotten you to understand where I'm coming from and what I've gone through in some way, shape, or form. And now I'm sharing something that can help you do it. Say it's a new method of getting yourself excited about the day. Whatever it is that you're selling, I'm selling you. I now can share that with you. And oftentimes, personally, and I understand in business, it is imperative at times to have slide presentations. They are needed at times. Key. Here's two things I want people to understand. Number one, don't overkill your slides, because now you have allowed the audience to focus on that rather than you. And you want to be the focal point when you are speaking at any presentation that you're doing. So when you have any type of slides, if you do need to use slides, make them very simple so that the focus isn't on the slide, it is on you, the speaker. In other words, I put on the slide, "Find your greatness," as one of my slides. Okay. Now I will explain it to you as the presenter. I now explain it so that the focus is on what I am saying to you, rather than you're constantly doing this and you're not anymore hearing me. We're watching the slides because you've written so much on the slides. The other thing that I want you to want to point out is sometimes you don't need slides. Sometimes your presentation connects with an audience far better, or connects with a group far more than constantly having all these slides up. So if you have an opportunity to just do a presentation on your own, do it.
What that brings up for me, Rogers, how many times I've seen the slide and people apologizing first. This one's really, really busy. It's got a lot going on here, but let me try to explain that to you.
Exactly.
Just the opposite of.
And we've been in that room. We've all been in that room where we're going, what is all of this?
Yeah, it's funny, Dan. I agree with you too, right? They apologize and then they dive right in. Well, I've got 10 minutes. I'll tell you everything. And then section 2B, it's pretty small print. You can't really see it from the crowd, but I'll read you line number 2 and hope that you have a great day. Thanks for coming out.
And how many times do you leave? How many times, Steve, do you leave there going, what? I didn't understand all of it.
None of it, right?
Right.
We had a presentation a few days ago, and it was just before we had to break, and it was jam packed with stuff, and I don't remember a thing outside that it was never something I'd want to do. But I want to ask you a question, Roger, and I watched your TED Talk, and it was about conversations and talking. And one thing that resonated with me, you talked about street hockey. And I grew up playing ball hockey on the roads, car, move the net. I had an outdoor rink down the street. A lot of time there as a 9-10-year-old in the shack with the wood fire stove in the middle, some scary dude that I would never want to be around ever. But my parents thought that was a good idea to go out and play hockey at 10 o'clock at night. Anyway, long story short is that I loved your talk around better conversations, right? One-to-one conversations. You'd sit on the side, the curb after the game, you chat with your friends and your buddies. And I still hang out with those guys, and I'm going skiing with them next weekend. The question is now, with so much stuff in front of you, right? Talked about it earlier around cell phones and X, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, like the art of conversation is gone. Like into 2025, can there not be something better? And advice from you on how do we turn the corner and have better conversations face to face or over the phone? Let's pick up a phone and talk.
Mm-hmm.
But where do you want to go with that? Sorry for the rant about that, but it's so
it's okay.
needed.
No, it's okay. And thank you for watching my TED Talk. It's called Is Communication Broken? And it was about the difference between how we used to communicate growing up. I'm 52 years old. So I know that those things, playing road hockey and riding on your bikes and those marvelous moments that you had as a kid have deteriorated now. A lot of people aren't doing those things, aren't having those moments anymore. And our digital world has taken over. Now, my whole thing is that we can have both. We can have both. But what happens is that we are so fast paced that it's quicker to jump on our phone and just send a text message than to pick up the phone and do the call. My advice to people, and I've been doing this a long time now, and that is to have those moments where you call your friends and say, hey, let's have what we call a fireside chat where we get on either a Zoom. So we're using the best of both worlds. We may not be able to all get on, but hey, every month, let's get on a Zoom call and we get on and we just talk about stuff, what's going on with our lives and stuff, or find ways to have moments where you bring people over to your house or or go to the bar or wherever it is that you feel you can all logistically get together and have those moments when you can just talk, have fun, enjoy. It's possible. It's not to say that it is not possible. And like I said, we can use the best of both worlds. The Zoom platform is great to have that. I remember during that time of COVID, we did a lot of that, and I realized, oh my God, this actually works. Where you get 4, 5, 6, 7 friends on a Zoom call, they're little boxes, but we're all still talking. We may not be able to get to wherever we got to go, but we scheduled a moment to have that conversation. Right. And then when it comes to our digital world, I think it works amazing because, yes, we're able to get to people instantaneous. We've got to send a text message real fast. We're on the road. We can't sit down and have a conversation. We're in a meeting real quickly and we want to just get information real quick. It's easy to text. But let's not lose out on what it is. And this is why it's important for me as a speaker with my company and when I'm working with youth. I do a lot of work in the community with gavel clubs. I have youth programs that I work with, and I've spoken at schools. And I love telling them, don't lose that moment that when later on in life, you're going to say, geez, I wish I was able to remember how it felt, what we used to talk about, because that's where the stories come. Steve, Daniel, I could sit here right now and I probably can say to you, do you remember growing up? Is there stories that you could talk about? And immediately you will remember moments that you had, probably like you did, Steve, talking about playing road hockey, that were not digital. They were moments in front of people, right? That's what I try to instill in the youth when I'm talking to them now. So don't forget those moments. Hang out with your friends. Go out, not necessarily to a party, but just hang out. Go to dinner. Have a good time talking. Those are moments that you will remember later in life.
Thank you, Roger. And I very much appreciated this conversation today. It's been fantastic. Your advice is golden, and I hope that the listeners have picked up a lot, because there is a lot that was packed into today's that I think will help out a lot for 2025.
Yeah, let me jump in there, Steve, because I think we could talk for about another hour with Roger. I almost don't want the conversation to end, but we do have to pick an endpoint at some point. But I do want to kind of summarize, because I've been taking a ton of notes through this whole conversation, Roger. I just want to summarize for some of our listeners some of the stuff that is absolute gold. You said friends behind the lens, and to really connect with the eyes when you're speaking. The relate, recall, and react. Great speaking is about listening. Absolutely love that. Act like a champion. Be that true professional. This day is going to be a better day. How inspiring is that? And then my favorite, save this for the end. Stories are the gateway to your soul and the pathway, I'll lean in, to the audience's heart.
I love it. I love it.
We absolutely enjoyed you, Roger. Tell our listeners where they can find you, they can hire you, they can know more about you.
Yeah, you can reach me at rogercaesar.com. That's my website. My Instagram at caesar.empire. Please spell Caesar correctly. It is Caesar. Caesar. I'm on LinkedIn. You can get me on LinkedIn as well. And you can subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. I'd love to hear from you. I am wanting to be on stages. I want to help your audiences. I want to help your companies to learn the effective way of communicating so that they too can put together their picture perfect presentations.
Well, Roger, we really appreciate you. We really appreciate your time. And let me tell you, you brought the greatness.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank
Roger, you've helped us solve the sales problem today. You've given our listeners some new knowledge that they need to thrive and succeed. You've helped them grow by enhancing what they know. Listeners, don't forget, Steve and I love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening. And if you've got a friend, doesn't matter where they are in the world, send them this episode if they need to listen. And until the next one, just keep creating the best version of you.